James Lipton's Inside, Chapter 6, page 145. Such an occasion finally earned me an unconditional acceptance by my colleagues in the station de metro. Regine, a couple of mechs playing cards in a corner, several fees and I were eating artichokes, for some unknown reason, the specialty of the house. Maybe they were plentiful in the Aveyron. When one of the women whom we all specially liked came dashing into the room in tears, followed by a beefy American reeling drunk and hurling invective at her. We learned from her in French, as he continued railing at her in English, that he'd refused to pay her, and, to punish her for whatever he saw as her shortcomings, had opened her purse and pocketed the rest of her night's earnings, all of which was, in this precinct, a cardinal sin. This kind of thing happened occasionally. It was always a client in pursuit of free fornication, but usually the miscreant was out the door before the fee could enlist help. This moron had followed her into the bar on the theory that the language barrier would shield him. It didn't. Neither combative nor versed in Donnybrook, I'm the last person anyone would want at his side in a brawl. But this time, before I knew it, I was on my feet, responding to the buffoon in kind and in his own language. As I recall, my first words, uttered in a ringing register that would have received an ovation from Arthur Lassac and Madame Gauthier, were, "Hey, asshole!" It got the Americans' attention. Calling upon every lesson learned from Stella, Harold, and Bobby, I assumed a persona none of them had ever asked me to play. I'd seen bits and pieces of this brute in the movies and on stage, but I was on unfamiliar terrain. In a split second, I decided that my action was to recover my friend's money, and the first beat of it was to scare this drunken oaf to death. Of course, I had surprise on my side, because the last thing he'd expected to find in this den of French inequity was someone who spoke his language in the vulgate. I took him for a New Yorker. Okay, I'd be from Brooklyn, Red Hook. "You hear me, asshole? You listening to me? This little lady says you stole her money." I left the booth and advanced on him. He must have outweighed me by 100 pounds, but I had justice on my side, and genuine righteous wrath. Stella was right. Play the action, and you won't have to go looking for the emotion. "Where's the money, you prick?" I never touched her money, but in a classic psychological gesture he was backing up. "You want to lose it? Lose what? You're a prick, you prick. Take a look around." I pointed at the mechs. "You know what these guys are? Algerian." They weren't, and it wouldn't have mattered much if they were, but I thought it was a nice touch, given the headlines about the fierce Algerian resistance to the foreign Pied Noir, and Stella would have found it imaginative. It was a time for a new beat in my action. "Let's see your passport." His hand leapt protectively toward a pocket. "What for?" "We're going to roll it up and shove it up your ass." "How are you going to explain that to immigration, or the little woman?" I added, noting the glint on his left hand. This was good. Too good to lose. I was making mental notes. His head swiveled toward the two mechs, who didn't understand a word I was saying, but were clearly awestruck by the volcanic depths of this docile American who'd never done anything more aggressive in their presence than have a quiet supper with Regine at the end of an honest night's work. "What are you looking at them for? They're just waiting for one word from me." "Oh, very good." His hands were flying in and out of his pockets, spilling francs and dollars. I started scooping them up. "Wait a minute," he whined. "Some of that's mine." "How do I know what you owe her? Ask her." "I don't speak French. Did you get a blowjob? That doesn't come cheap. And if she swallowed the smoke, that's extra." His hands flew back in his pockets and more money appeared. Then his arms fell limply at his sides. "Where's her bonus?" I demanded. "Bonus? For the aggravation." He reached into his pocket, withdrew some francs, dropped them on the pile at his feet, and pulled his pockets inside out. "That's all I got." "Let's see your watch." He looked even more stricken. "Never mind. Get out of here." As he sprinted for the exit, I yelled, "And stay away from our women. They're too good for you." It may have been my best performance ever. That night, Regine insisted we make love, and we did. A month later, with classes looming in New York, I left for America. Every time I go to Cannes, I take a walk, hoping to come upon a perfumerie called Regine's, but I've never found one. So concludes Pleasant Voices' reading of Chapter 6 of James Lipton's novel, Inside.